In Boston, the lower classes began to use the town meeting to vent their grievances. The governor of Massachusetts had written that in these town meetings, the meanest inhabitants, by their constant attendance, there generally are the majority and outvote the gentlemen, merchants, substantial traders, and all the better part of the inhabitants. In other words, the poor people were mean, and they all began to show up to these meetings where decisions were being made, and they outnumbered the better part of the inhabitants, aka the rich people. And so basically what ended up happening is that they became aware of the declining fortunes and the resentment of ordinary townspeople. It was mirroring as well as molding popular opinion. In other words, this energy, this attitude, this anger, this resentment was starting to spread around amongst all ordinary people. We have here a forecast of the long history of American politics, the mobilization of lower class energy by upper class politicians for their own purposes. This was not purely deception. It involved, in part, a genuine recognition of lower class grievances. So the elite were like, okay, we can find a way to acknowledge the things that they're saying, but we can manipulate this into our advantage. In this case, let's talk about it, but make it seem like it's Britain's fault. When in reality, the colonists in Boston, 5%, the top 5% of taxpayers controlled 49% of the taxable assets. The people, the colonists, were the ones stealing the money. I mean, everybody, the monarchy and the top 5% were stealing the money, but they were so smart in being able to divert the attention the other way. It says here, in 1763, in the Boston Gazette, someone wrote that a few persons in power were promoting political projects for keeping the people poor in order to make them humble. Okay, here we have this accumulated sense of grievance against the rich in Boston may account for the explosiveness of mob action after the Stamp Act of 1765, which was when the British were taxing the colonial population to pay for the French War, in which colonists had suffered to expand the British Empire. This is when people were like falling further and further and further into poverty because everybody had to give money for this war. It says here, that summer, a shoemaker named Ebenezer McIntosh led a mob in destroying the house of a rich Boston merchant named Andrew Oliver. 2 weeks later, the crowd turned to the home of Thomas Hutchinson, a symbol of the rich elite who ruled the colonies in the name of England. The people began to attack the mansions of those who were put in power by